really sorry. I didn't think it would end up like this. I am a good person.
Hey there, and welcome to another edition of Box Office Quarterbacks. I am Ahmed. This is my buddy Jeff. Jeff, you and I just finished talking about Secession, so if you haven't watched that episode, go ahead and watch that. But if you're here for Barry, which I know I am, let's go ahead and get into it. The season finale, the series finale, just aired, and my God, it was something to watch. Before we get started, Jeff, overall thoughts, man. How did you come out of this?
Yeah, we got two great series finales tonight. I think Barry did stick the landing. I think this was probably one of the most shocking endings we could have got for this show. I do have some gripes with this finale. In particular, I kind of wish that it would have been like 10 or 15 minutes longer than what we got.
Mm.
I just think ending it with another 30-minute episode kind of wasn't the way to go out. Did go out, though, on a very, very memorable note, I will say.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up because, you know, kind of coming to comparing the ending with the very first episode. Do you think it kind of seems like the show went full circle, or do you think it kind of goes into a different direction?
I think it does go full circle just because I don't think this was ever going to be a happy ending for Barry. When you live a life of a hitman, and I don't think you ever really leave it, and just 8 years on the run with a kid and his wife in the middle of nowhere, people were bound to find them again eventually. Uh, Him dying, I saw coming, but not in the way it happened and not so abruptly. That was just probably one of the most shocking character deaths that I've seen in a while.
Even Barry himself was shocked. I mean, the fact that he got shot and the first thing out of his mouth was, "Oh wow," before a shot to the head.
Yeah.
But you're right. There was no way there was going to be a happy ending to this. It was supposed to be like very melancholy, but you did have high hopes for Barry, in the way like he started to kind of feel himself. He was finally starting to get his bearings, but it just seemed like the odds were against him. And even though he was always trying to do right, it was never working out for him. And that's something I want to bring up with you. The idea of this being a dark comedy. This Do you think the serious elements sort of outweigh the comedy?
I would say so, especially in the later seasons, just because the first two seasons of this show were played for laughs. Like, and you're reminded of that when you see the horrible made for TV movie at the end of this, and it was supposed to be terrible, of Barry Berkman's life and Gene Kusino as a drug lord or whatever, which was funny. But you are reminded of the comedic elements in the first two seasons, but the three and four were so serious, like almost Breaking Bad level dark. And
Yeah.
you only got such little moments of levity that I think at the end of this is going to be more of a drama than a comedy.
Yeah, and I mean it does draw you in with the comedy, arguably, with the lovable characters like NoHo Hank, which I guess let's go ahead and jump into it. Our favorite characters. Uh, I said NoHo Hank as one of them, but I'm gonna see what your favorite characters are. Is NoHo Hank even on your list?
And NoHo Hank is number one.
Okay.
He is a great character, great supporting actor, like one of the best supporting actors that we've had in the past decade of TV, or the current decade that we're in. But seeing him die at the end, I thought was probably the most heartbreaking part of this episode. And I would say I'm even more heartbroken that Hank died more than Barry, because Hank was more of a redeemable guy than Barry at the end of the day. So
Well,
besides,
yeah, because he wasn't a
Cristobal,
killer.
yeah, like he did have Cristobal killed, and that, like, his death was almost beautiful in a way where he dies holding Cristobal's hand, like the Hand of Cristobal statue. So I like that he got that. I mean, Barry's a complex guy, so he would be number 2 for me. 3 would probably be Fuchs. Fuchs had a crazy transformation where he becomes like this, the Raven. Is that what they called him in prison? So that was pretty funny. Kusino, Kusino was fine. I do like Henry Winkler. He's just not really a fun character to root for because he's very egotistical. But I mean, if you're giving me that wide range of emotions, I'll put him on my list. And 5, I guess, I mean, I wasn't really a fan of Sally, to be honest with you.
Another, I think she was my very least. I wouldn't even say least. I hated her character so much.
Yeah, so I mean, for 5, I think I'll put maybe Cristobal. I did like Cristobal when he was around.
Oh man, you're leaving an important person off your list. Janice Moss's dad. What a badass.
He is a badass, and I wish he would have gotten some screen time in the finale.
Yeah, but he's on the list. So this is in no particular order. I liked Fuchs just because I'm a fan of Stephen Root, who, if you all don't know, plays Bill Dauterive in King of the Hill, and he was also in Dodgeball. And if anybody's ever seen Office Space, he
Yeah.
plays the guy that's my stapler. I could burn this place down. We've all thought that, right?
And imagine that guy with the stapler becoming Fuchs in the end of this episode.
No. He becomes the Raven.
Yeah.
I warned you. I warned you.
Yeah.
Man, him and Barry was such a complex character. I'm curious, Jeff. This is something I like to ask people, and now this kind of question is suitable for this format, though. What do you think takes more talent or skill? A comedic actor like Bill Hader, who we've seen constantly doing great things in Saturday Night Live, with South Park. His impressions are spot on. His role as Stefan in Saturday Night Live is immaculate. But what takes more talent or skill? A comedic actor in a serious role or a serious actor in a comedy role?
It is definitely a comedic actor in a serious role. And Bill Hader kind of followed the Bryan Cranston path where, Bryan Cranston was in Malcolm in the Middle before he was in Breaking Bad. And now you have Bill Hader doing Saturday Night Live and this show. But the more impressive thing about Bill Hader this season, he directed every episode. He directed all 8 of them. So he acted and just some of the choices he makes are great. Like, I think he could direct a really good horror movie one day because there are some scary parts in here. The cinematography, just some of the shot choices he makes are really creative, I think. So I am excited to see more of not only Bill Hader, the actor, but Bill Hader, the director as well.
Definitely a gritty series, especially towards the end. And yeah, there's so many undercurrents to each episode, and that's what Bill Hader probably was going for. And it makes it really hard to kind of just wrap your head around what the hell it is you watch, because here you are thinking you're just watching a dark comedy, it's Bill Hader, and then you see Bill Hader, you kind of start believing that he might have been in the war because of how good he is, and the fact that he's got an amazing marksmanship. So, but that being said, what do we give it our overall ratings?
This one's not as clear cut as Succession, I don't think. It is. I think I'm gonna go an all-star with this. Like, it's really, really good. It is a really great show. I think the length of the episodes really kind of stunted it, especially towards the end. Like, you see shows with like Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso started with 30-minute episodes, I think, and then they expanded to an hour for the last season. This, I think, could have benefited a lot from that, especially when you have a flash forward and you have a lot more backstory to fill in. So I loved the last season. I really did. I just wish we got a lot more time and maybe 2 more episodes. So it stuck the landing, but not as quite as clean as I would have wanted it to be. What about you?
No, I empathize with that. I give it an all-star for sure. I was kind of frustrated with the whole 8 episode count, but at the same time, it did kind of, make binging the show really easy. Um, by the time I caught up to the entire series, my wife and I were like, "Damn, we gotta wait a whole week now for the next episode."
Yeah.
Um, and I did like the meta aspect of the show in terms of kind of learning the craft of acting. I think whenever you watch as many movies as we have, it's easy for us to you know, kind of get sucked into the moment and love the actors, but we don't really know what goes into what makes an actor go. Writers do such a great job. So, obviously, support for the writers that are striking right now. But, well, for me at least. But the uh, the the amount of effort that takes into creating dialogue and bringing the role to life, like Bill Hader did with this role, it really makes you appreciate the work that goes into it. And there's a bit. I think Jeremy Piven did a stand-up bit where he talks about Dwayne Johnson being one of the highest paid actors, but noting that he's never taken an acting class.
And it shows.
And it shows. And he's like, by the way, can you all hear me in the back? Because he's projecting his voice without the microphone. And they're like, yeah. He's like, you know why? Because I took an acting class.
Oh my God.
And when you hear about these skills and whenever you're really drawn into that world of like, oh, this is what it is. When you're embracing the embarrassing aspect, like whenever there were moments and scenes where Bill Hader and some of the other characters are, mimicking each other and doing these facial expressions and just allowing themselves to be vulnerable, it really makes you appreciate the story that much more. And which is why we like Secession so much, and why Barry is also you know at that level. Oh, did this show win an Emmy? I know it was nominated, but did it win an
It
Emmy?
did. Like the earlier seasons, I think were the more nominated here. I do think that this show should have released their final batch of episodes a little bit later. I think Succession kind of buried Barry, if you will, for the last season. Like all the hype went to Succession, and this show was great too. And I just kind of hate seeing it end as kind of the afterthought of this era of HBO. So that's kind of another gripe that I had.
Especially since the season 3 finale kind of ended on such a big cliffhanger. It feels like you know, I don't want to say it seemed rushed, but it kind of did, because we're still kind of left wondering what's going to happen next. But I think we can kind of figure it out. It seems like Barry's still going to get what he wanted in that he's going to be remembered for something other than being, a murderer. Sally's still going to live in that sense of denial. And Gene, who was an egotistical jerk, people are going to go, oh, yeah, fuck that guy. I never liked him anyway.
Yeah. Is pretty crazy that all the crimes got pinned on Kusino, because Barry did a lot of shit and he killed a lot of people. It wasn't just Janice Moss. So
Well, and it seemed like a lot of the beginning of his murders were like Dexter-esque, where he was killing bad people. And then the first episode, it's like, no, these aren't just bad people. You're killing this guy because he fucked my wife.
yeah. And then like he killed his friend from the war at one point. Like there was a way to thread that back through and have
Yeah.
those, like that guy's family come back and a lot of different things. They stuck it, like I said, messy, but they stuck it.
But you brought up a really good point, and I hate for us to end without talking about some of our favorite moments. I think that has to be my favorite moment when he's just talking to Chris, his friend, and he just won't shut the hell up about the PTSD he's got from killing people. And he says, I'm just gonna go to the police and blah 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 blah. And he's like, why would you say that? And like,
Yeah.
why would, and just the emotion that Barry has when he says, why would you say that? Because it's like now he has to kill him.
Yeah,
Like,
that was one of the most heartbreaking parts of that
yeah,
show, for sure. And like a lot more moments like that in there. Like it's a deeper show than you think it's going to be after you watch that first episode. Like it really did surprise me and really just kind of grow into itself. And I think that's what I'm going to remember the most about this show.
hmm. Well, is there any other final thoughts?
End of an era for HBO. Succession, Barry, and we're gonna be kind of left with a hole for a while. So hopefully that next great HBO drama will come out of the woodwork.
Yeah, Max, whatever you're calling yourself now, keep churning out amazing shows. You know, and subscribe to our channel.
Yeah, for sure. All
Well,
right.
with that being said, this has been another edition of Box Office Quarterbacks. Please subscribe, especially you, HBO, Max, whatever you want to call yourself. And keep watching all our stuff. You know, we got way more coming up soon. For Box Office Quarterbacks, I'm Ahmed. He's Jeff. We'll catch you next time.